This episode of the Boss Rush Podcast is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the Boss Rush family of podcasts, head to bossrush.net or our Patreon at patreon.com/bossrushmedia. Thanks for helping us build something better. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Boss Rush Podcast. I am your host, Corey Deering, and alongside me for this extra edition is none other than my Xbox aficionado, my Xbox guru, and also my co-host on Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast, Josh Finney.
I like how we're talking PlayStation, and we brought in the Xbox guy. But
I know.
Nonetheless, happy to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Here's the thing, Josh. We see each other once a week.
We do,
and we like to have these conversations.
We do,
and I know that the Tower Casuals audience and the Boss Rush audience don't really overlap a whole lot.
No,
but I do want to say that when it comes to like really nailing down the details on Xbox and PlayStation stuff specifically, you're the first person I think of. And so,
I'm flattered.
I know a lot of people, we're kind of like switching content stuff up on the fly and just kind of doing whatever. But like Boss Rush Extra, Boss Rush Plus is all kind of like an all-encompassing umbrella. And like, it's more of an excuse for me to talk to, Josh and, other people about different things, because I would like to talk to Josh and other people from time to time. No offense, Josh. I love Destiny and I love you talking about Destiny, but there's other times I want to talk about other things with you. And like, this platform provides us that outlet from time to time. So
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Destiny is great and fun to talk about, but we've been talking Zelda the last couple weeks, for example. It was kind of a slow time. Brought up, but instead of doing our weekly lore corner, we've been doing Zelda Corner, which has been like a half hour long.
Right. Yeah.
Coming soon to a Tower Casual near you, Diablo Corner. So
right.
This is great. We traditionally try and get together to do one of these every year for the Xbox show.
Mm-hmm. And I think before the Xbox show, you and I are going to get together for one of these again to talk about, maybe some predictions or what we want to see. And then I know that you'll be with our friend of show, Ray Apollo, for a lot of the breakdowns. Once that's all over, we'll get together again and kind of go over what happened. And,
for sure.
But enough of that, Josh. We're here to talk about the PlayStation Showcase. Let me tell you, Josh, Ghost of Tsushima 2 was great. Death Stranding 2 was great. The standalone expansion for God of War was awesome.
These are all things
Uncharted.
These are all things we could have said.
Yeah, Uncharted 5. Wow, it's awesome. None of those things happened. None of those things happened. Josh, immediately after this showcase, I wanted to say, man, I'm really excited to play all these games on Xbox.
I was really bummed. I was not as harsh on this as some people were. The guys over at Kind of Funny were giving it 2s and 3s out of 5. Even Greg Miller noted, probably the authority on PlayStation, as far as I'm concerned, was like, this was a 2 out of 5. This is highly disappointing. All the third party stuff looks awesome, and I want to clear the air with that. Like things like Alan Wake 2 looked awesome. Street Fighter 6. I mean, a lot of us people are excited for that. We've all seen Final Fantasy 16 at how many fucking events now? Like,
yeah, I'm excited for Assassin's Creed. I know we're both excited for Marathon, and obviously.
Oh my god, the Bungie stuff took us by huge surprise. We didn't expect any of that, but when you get down to the nitty gritty of what they showed in terms of first party stuff, you had the 10-minute sequence of Spider-Man at the end. and you had a couple CG trailers that looked like they belonged at any event other than a Sony event. This was so
Mm-hmm.
out of the norm for a Sony event that I joked watching this. I was joking with a couple friends of ours that I says, it feels like I'm watching an Xbox show. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's like how bad this was. I feel like I'm watching like an Xbox E3 from like 2017 to 2020-ish is what I feel like I'm watching
Yeah.
right now. This is real bad, and they didn't do themselves any favors by the entire first half of the show being such a huge dud. Like there were, and I want to be real clear, there were some cool indies in there, but nobody is
Mm-hmm.
going to talk about those because everything cool came in the second half. Whereas this massive
Mm-hmm.
third party title, like nobody's going to remember half of these games. Like, yeah, sure, Talos
Mm-hmm.
Principle 2 is something that a lot of people are going to look forward to. The new game
Yeah,
from
and
the
that's
creators of
great.
Journey, like these are cool games, but you're not talking about those the way that you are. Like, nobody's talking about Cat Quest, okay, over Metal Gear Solid Delta. Like, nobody's talking about.
You mean Pirates of the Caribbean? You're not talking about that game?
Low key, I'm gonna play that game, and I'm actually really excited. But like the first half of this streamed games that are gonna come to PS Plus, or if they're multi-platform, Game Pass, like basically
Well,
day one.
yeah, well, a lot of them, like, I mean, Haven's game was is clearly a game as a service, right?
Oh
Uh,
my god, yeah. Can we
you
talk
know,
about the
a
whole
lot of
games as a service feel here?
yeah, I mean, well, Sony came out and said they had 10 in development.
Oh, it's
So,
worse. It's worse. So
I mean,
I have an article here from
but even
VG.
even then,
Yeah, yeah.
real quick before we go over the ones that were shown, like, yeah, you have 10 in development, but where are the big ones? Like the rumored Horizon multiplayer game or Factions or, like those are the big ones.
Factions not being here is genuinely the biggest surprise.
Oh
That
yeah.
was something that was confirmed as in development last year during Summer Game Fest. And I've seen a lot of people go, well, since it was revealed at Game Fest, maybe they're going to let Keighley have it still. Man, if I had that little show at this from my studios, I would have fought tooth and nail with Keighley and been like, hey, we really need this. Can we throw like, I don't know, Helldivers to you? Can we throw Marathon to you? We'll give you Haven's game. Like, we'll let you have one of these CG reveals, but can we pretty please
Mhm.
have Factions gameplay for our own show?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that's just
I mean,
crazy. Where's Bluepoint? Where's Bluepoint Studios at?
yeah. They're working on that Bloodborne
Oh my god,
remaster that everybody
where is
thinks is
Sony
happening.
Bend? Where is Sucker Punch? Like so many of these
Well,
studios.
here's the thing. Sony Bend actually tweeted today and said, "We're working on our biggest game yet. We're excited to show it to you." And it's like,
Yeah.
where's the game? You just had a showcase yesterday.
So okay, so they tweeted about it. Yeah, they tweeted about it the morning of the showcase, and they had to
Mhm.
clarify afterwards. Hey, we did not mean for this to be a tease that we were showing something because a lot of people hyped it the holy hell for the next couple hours. Like, oh my god, Bend is showing their next game. They later had to clarify because it's like the studio's 25th anniversary or something. That's why they tweeted that, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh, just horrible brand management there. Just unforced error on the part of the studio and on Sony, but just oh, God, man, this was not a Sony
Also,
showcase. This was bad.
also Nintendo called and said they want their Wii U gamepad
Oh
back.
my God, dude, that man, the meme that I've seen floating around of the screen and the two halves of the DualShock or the DualSense attached like it's in Tears of the Kingdom has me rolling.
Mhm.
That just 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. It's one of the best memes to come out of Tears of the Kingdom, and it's not even directly related to the game. It's great. Everybody instantly knows what's happening there without any sort of context.
Mhm.
I don't know who this device is for.
Mhm.
I this thing, and listen, this is a Sony peripheral. It's not going to be appropriately priced either. This thing's gonna be
No, it's gonna.
this thing's gonna be minimum $200. Minimum.
I bet it costs as much as the Switch. I bet it costs.
I'm
I bet it might cost 300
I'm my guess is 250 here. I'm guessing 250 on
because
this.
that's because it has the DualSense
Yep.
stuff in it,
Yep.
right?
It has the haptics and everything in it. And let me be really clear. If I could take this on the go with me, if I could take this like anywhere with me, and I didn't need a persistent
Mhm.
internet connection, granted, I don't know how you would afford the memory for that thing. They'd have to bring back like memory sticks, which would be a whole nother issue. But if you could do that with like
Memory stick. Pro Duo.
Yeah, if you could do that with like an SD card or something, or like a micro SD like the Switch, I think that actually would be like insanely popular. But
Hmm.
this feels like, oh, we really want to get in on these Switch sales, but we don't want to actually commit to it. Like, as our friend Ray Apollo put it, have we learned nothing from the Wii U?
Right.
This, like,
Right.
and I say, who is this for? I can come up with one explanation and one explanation only, and that's if you are living with your significant other and you are like 22, living in a one-bedroom apartment with one TV, and your partner wants to watch HGTV or something. They want to watch Property Brothers, and you really want to play The Last of Us Part 2. That's who this device is for. Do you want to play games that badly though that you're going to pay like 250 before? Like, this is PlayStation TV all over again. Who is this for? That even had a purpose. You could play your Vita games on it. This, you have to have them
Yeah.
installed on the console to even use this.
Yeah. Did you see I mean, I don't really care for Jason Schreier all that much, but did you see his tweet that said cannot wait to play Square Enix's Splatoon on my Sony Wii U?
Yeah, I love Jason.
What was
Jason
that
is a
game called?
national
Nerf
treasure.
Foam
Yeah, Foam
Foam
Stars.
Stars?
While we're talking about just like completely baffling decisions, though, they had an investors call on Tuesday leading into this, which like helped kind of drive the hype, right? And this is from
Mm-hmm.
VGC. Andy Robinson posted this, talking about their live service initiatives over there at Sony. He says that they have 12. They confirmed they have 12 live service games in production, and they expect, or they probably have more, but they expect 12 of them to be out by March 2026. So within the next,
It's one every 4 months,
at
maybe?
least, yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of like in live service games, that means like, strong multiplayer components. It might not necessarily be a dedicated multiplayer
Mm-hmm.
game, but like something with a huge multiplayer component. So like something like Gran
Mm-hmm.
Turismo would fit into this, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, but when I think of that, I think of like that rumored Horizon game, Factions, the rumored Twisted Metal
well, and
game, Gran Turismo,
that's what I'm
right?
getting to here. Among the ones that we know are in development are Factions. We do know that there is a Horizon game, a game set in the Horizon universe, and an original IP from the London studio. That's what they're working on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we got the first tease. It was a terrible tease of the new IP from Firewalk yesterday. That's the latest studio
Mm-hmm.
they acquired. That is supposed to be a game with strong multiplayer components. Marathon falls in. I don't even know if Marathon falls into this. That's the worst part, because they are like,
Yeah.
Bungie is so separate from SIE in general. Like, they do not fall underneath the
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation Studios banner. They are actually a separate entity entirely under under Sony itself. Like, they are a separate
Yeah.
business. So I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
that I don't know if that, works here or not.
I I mean the Bungie stuff was like the most exciting stuff, and I know we're huge Bungie fans and huge Destiny fans and whatever, but like, and I know Marathon is kind of conceptual, but that Vidoc was like, that game looks really cool.
So
Or sounds cool at
I
least
have
too.
two questions here. And I'm gonna save a couple of them for when we actually talk about the games. But they also confirm on this same call that this is where I really wanted to get to, that by that point, they expect within the next 2 years for 60% of the money they are spending on development to be being spent on live service titles. That is a massive, massive, massive shift from the investment they've been doing into single player games. And if I can only
Mm-hmm.
imagine, this would not have happened with Sean Layden in control. I want to say that.
No, I know.
Sean Layden
Well,
is, I mean,
they shut down Pixel Opus. Like, I mean,
they shut down
that's a
Pixel
studio that I
Opus
think they.
last week.
Mhm.
The week
And
before our
that,
showcase.
yeah, and that's a studio that I feel like Sean Layden would have kept open, just because, like, yeah, Concrete Genie. I mean, it's that famous Sean Layden quote of like, what was it? This game's not going to sell a million units, but it doesn't have to, right?
Yeah,
Because he was talking
I
about,
forget which one he
and
said that about, but
I think it was like Entwined or
oh my
something,
god, yeah, it was back in like
something like that.
2011, 2012, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And Sony famously closed Japan studio 2 years ago.
Hmm.
Team Asobi being the only thing that survived from that.
Yeah.
So I think you look at this and you're like, what is the goal here? And it's very clear they're chasing live service, but as Andy Robinson breaks it down in this, I want to read this because this like kind of freaks me out a little bit. I want to read I want to read 3 paragraphs from him in a row here. That this is directly from Herman Hulst. The learnings from Bungie have been substantial in many areas, Hulst says. Of course, when you're developing live service titles, you require capabilities that you don't have when you're working on single player narrative driven games. True. As these capabilities that we've set up inside PlayStation Studios have been helped and guided by Bungie, we also more deeply understand what success means in live services. Historically, our games have always worked towards an end, and this is a large cultural shift. The launch of a game is just the beginning, and it comes with a whole set of different key performance indicators. We also work with Bungie on a pretty rigorous portfolio review process that we apply to all 12 live service titles we have in production, and these are just brief examples of some of the learnings we have gained from working with Bungie. If I am a developer at a studio at SIE right now, I'm shitting myself over that quote. You have another studio that is separate from the PlayStation Studios family. Not even Naughty Dog has been afforded this, okay? Because it's the deal that Pete Parsons struck when they were bought. That they are coming in and they are reviewing your work and telling you based off of their experience with one franchise, this will work or this won't. I would be infuriated.
Oh yeah.
And also, your peers at another studio are determining, is your project going forward or is it being canceled? And this all comes out not even a week after we found out that Pixel Opus closed. We found that out a week or two ago. And then we find out about Deviation Games laying off 100 people and presumably canceling their Sony exclusive game, which was supposed to be a big live service title.
They have until December to come up with a new concept that somebody can pick up, or they're done.
This is wild. This is absolutely wild shit to be hearing. And
this is so different from like even PlayStation of like even 5 years ago.
You have to be wondering, like, I mean, now I think it's fair to wonder, like, well, shit, did your portfolio review team from Bungie have a say in that? Because the ex-Bungie devs lead that studio. Like, I cannot imagine how soul-crushing this must be. I just hear that, and that is like, ugh, I hate hearing that. This was like kind of tucked away in there. I hate this. I hate this because then, like you pointed out, like there was no factions here. We're talking about like and I think Kind of Funny made a really good point with this. Blessing was making this. He says, I don't know how you come out and do a live service initiative and a big live service push in this show, which is such a radical shift, without having that one title that's going to bring people in. He was like, I think and everybody on the panel agreed. Greg Miller, Tim Geddes, Blessing, Mike, Andy, all agreed. Marathon is going to be that game. But Marathon's multi-plat. Marathon's also a multi-plat game. And, like, that's great. Destiny, like lightning in a bottle. They are the only game that has really, really nailed the boxed games as a service thing. And even it went to free-to-play. But, like, if they're trying to chase things like being the next Fortnite or the next Apex or even smaller like Sea of Thieves and Grounded and Minecraft and things like that, like you're fracturing with 12 different games. You're fracturing that player base so much. And this is something Sony has wanted to do multiplayer good for so long, and they've been so bad at it for so long.
Yeah, I mean, people like the Last of Us multiplayer stuff.
And that's fine to like it, but when I think multiplayer, I'm not thinking Sony. When I think multiplayer, I'm thinking Halo, Gears, Forza. I'm thinking things like Sea of Thieves. I'm thinking Mario Kart. I'm thinking Smash Brothers. Sony really hasn't had a great online title, I would argue, since the original Last of Us. They made their decision to go all in on single player games last gen, and that was a wonderful decision. Don't get me wrong. They relied on partnerships with Call of Duty and Destiny to really carry them through that, but they're kind of like, okay, well, we need to expand into this area. Because whereas like I think that's the one area where Microsoft has remained really strong despite all their setbacks, despite all their shortcomings in the Xbox One era. I think they still remain strong with multiplayer offerings. Sony's trying to get to that, and they want that. They want the casual audience from the Switch, but they don't have any games that appeal to that casual audience. It's just, it's a real catch-22, and like this was being billed as like the beginning of phase 2 for PS5. And Shinobi over on Twitter, he very prolific tweeter in the gaming community. He came out and said, I come away from this showcase disappointed because I know there's not one thing that was revealed here from first party that tells me anything I did not already know going into this. And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we found out what Haven's game looks like. The fact that Haven's game looks like it's going to be a game as a service title, and the PlayStation blog essentially confirms that what's it called here? Fair Games.
Yeah.
Fair Games with a dollar sign on the end. Yeah, ooh, we got to be edgy here. The fact that that's the next game from Jade Raymond just blows my mind. That's the next game that she's making. Like, oof. I suddenly was I saw like just the Xbox community across the board going, well, glad this looks like if you asked Ubisoft to make their version of the Redfall reveal teaser from 2021. That's what this looked like to me.
I gotta say, man, like this whole showcase, like Xbox has been so down the last, month and a half or so with Redfall and, the countless other things, right? That like this was Sony's kind of time to put their foot on the neck, right? And really do some damage. And they stepped on a rake here, man. They fumbled the ball so bad. And like this leaves the door wide open for Microsoft in a couple weeks, right?
We hadn't had a PlayStation showcase in 21 months, Corey.
I know.
Tim Geddes had a great quote on this. He said, he goes, if this was a state of play, this would have been the greatest state of play of all time. He's like, because this felt like a state of play.
But they marketed it as a showcase, which means like this was man, you put that showcase on there instead of a state of play, man. You're really
our first party games from here were a CG trailer for Fair Games, Helldivers 2.
Helldivers 2 looked okay, Marathon. But like I like the first one a little bit.
Marathon, I mean, Destiny 2 The Final Shape, which technically don't get that PlayStation Studios logo, but we're going to count them here anyways. Concord, which is the new IP from Firewalk. It's Firewalk's first game ever, by the way. And that told me nothing other than you're on a spaceship and there's a burger that looked really good in CG. And 10 minutes of Spider-Man 2 with also the not Wii U gamepad and the world's most uncomfortable looking earbuds.
If you want to be a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushMedia and find out which tier is right for you. Our Patreon producers at the $5 tier or higher for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, and Rebecca Jewell. Thank you for your continued support. Right. Dude, those things look so awful.
This was so rough. Like I get like in the middle, Final Fantasy 16 is there, and I understand. They don't have a lot coming this year. They have Spider-Man 2, they have Helldivers, and they have the massive partnership on Final Fantasy 16. I wonder how much is Jim Ryan like praying, absolutely praying to the statue of Ken Kutaragi in his closet that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth actually releases this winter. Because it wasn't here, and that was the other one. I thought that and Factions were locks to be here.
Oh yeah, I'm shocked.
Instead, we're promoting a game for like the 8th time because Sony has been doing this the last couple years. They get the marketing rights for a game or they have a timed exclusive, and they have to remind you every time that somebody sneezes. It's like they hear and they're like, "Oh, this person might not know about this game." We saw Deathloop at like 6 events leading up to its release, to the point that the last showcase we had was 2 days before Deathloop released, and we still had another trailer for it there. Same thing here with Street Fighter. Street Fighter comes out in a week, and it's here. Final Fantasy comes out in less than a month, and it was here. Like these are Greg Miller was like, as soon as they showed those,
mind you that they just did a whole 20-minute state of play on Final Fantasy 16.
They've done them for Street Fighter also. The last state of play that we got back in March was so focused on Street Fighter, and they had an exclusive demo, they had a beta weekend, they've had an alpha weekend. Like, oh my god, Let's fly through some of these games, though, because we got a lot of stuff to get to tonight. We have another show after this. Just Fair Games looks awful. I didn't even need to see gameplay to know, I'm not touching this. Helldivers 2?
Yeah, I'm not either.
If they were smart, Helldivers 2 would be launched right into PS Plus.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This is a game like do what you did not do with Destruction All Stars. Well, I guess you did do it with Destruction All Stars. Launch it straight into PS Plus and at least get some players on it because I'm sorry,
Mhm.
that's coming out this fall in a fall that's kind of getting filled really quickly with multiplayer games.
I think any of these games, any of these game as a service should automatically either be on PS Plus or free to play.
So
And then you buy
some of
the
these really need to be willing to go there, but
Mhm.
it's also like even if you're launching these all free to play, like Andy Cortez was making this point. He says, even if you watch these free to play, he goes, these feel like games that are going to be lightning in a bottle. Like, but after 6 months, nobody's going to be talking about these. He's like, we're still talking about Bungie because it's
Mhm.
Bungie. He was like, because they make
Right.
incredible feeling shooters. You trust Bungie when you see that name. He's like, you trust Naughty Dog when you see that name. He was like, he's like, I feel so bad for studios like Firewalk, and he's like, no offense to them, no offense to the team making Helldivers 2 or to Haven, but he's like, these games do not feel like we will not be talking about these 3 to 6 months after launch. He's like, you're going to play these for like
Nope.
3 weeks.
3 months. That's
Yeah, he was like,
generous.
you're going to play these for like 3 weeks and then they're going to shut down. My conspiracy theory over Foam Stars is Square had to have sat down with Sony and said, well, if you're going to get the exclusivity on all the Final Fantasy stuff, you're taking all these games that we think are going to be bad also.
Yeah.
Like Greg Miller was like, "Oh, look, it's Square Enix's stinker of the year because we've had Babylon's Fall. What was it? The Quiet Man and this like 3 years in a row now."
Don't forget about
For
Forspoken.
oh god, for I'm so divided on if like that's in this category of bad, but it wasn't great. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh man,
Yeah.
you've had all these like
Apparently the DLC for Forspoken is pretty good. That's what some of the reviews are saying.
I
They're like, it's
just
better than the main game.
I look at the first half of this and you go, Fair Games, Helldivers, Immortals of Avium looks terrible. This looks like an awful
Mhm.
game. That's like the
Yeah.
most
That's that first person magic
yeah,
game, right?
that's the
That
like the
was, yeah.
most 6 out of 10 game I think I've ever seen. Ghost Runner 2 looked kind
Yeah.
of cool. I know a lot of people were hyped for Phantom Blade and Sword of the Sea. Like they had 3 there, and then Talos Principle, Neva. I was like, okay, maybe we're picking up a little bit of steam. Like I'm interested in these, but I know most
Mhm.
people are like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah. The Sword in the Sea looks cool.
Yeah, that's from the
But
Journey Studio.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, Plucky Squire. Anytime I've seen that a couple of times, really interested in that, but just felt kind of out of place. Like that feels like again, this is from Greg Miller's breakdown of it. This feels like something that if it's at a main PlayStation showcase, should have been like the least impressive indie shown. Like that should be
Yeah.
the floor, and that's not to rag on that game at all. That's saying like when you are part of a main showcase, the expectations are elevated and
Yeah.
and again, no disrespect, but I don't. Cat Quest felt like the kind of thing that you see at like the Game Awards or Summer Game Fest before Jeff Keighley cuts to like the Taco Bell commercial he has to show. That's it. It feels like the mobile game that paid way too much money to be there. That's what
Yeah.
this feels like. Teardown, I could not care less about Teardown. Metal Gear is the first time
Mhm.
I think we saw some life. We were like, oh my god, like the general audience was like, oh my god, at the very end, like
Yeah.
it's Snake, but it's no gameplay. We didn't even find out who's
Yeah.
making this in the trailer.
Yeah, my thing was like, yeah, okay, it's a Snake Eater remake. We kind of knew about it, and there's no gameplay. Like, who cares?
There's no gameplay.
Like,
Kojima's not involved.
yeah,
I don't
and
care.
like the Metal Gear Twitter account tweeted out, we used Metal Gear Solid Delta because Delta shows change and reimagining, and it's like, well, does that mean it's like a Final Fantasy VII situation where you're kind of reimagining it, or are you
Yeah.
like, is this a full on remake? You know what I mean? Like,
So I saw that speculation. The other thing that I was seeing a lot of people say was, well, with Delta, with them not calling it 3 and them calling it Delta, does that mean that this is going to be the first in like a series of remakes of the main series of like the first 4
I think it
games?
is. I
And
think
then
it
like
is.
if you do that, like to make it like more understandable for new players, I would be okay with that. If they want to like Resident
Mhm.
Evil 2 this, go for it. But Snake Eater is like considered by a lot of Metal Gear fans to be the best in the series.
Yeah,
So
I always hear like people are like they either love it or they hate it.
I
Like it's
fall
like
into the
one or
hate
the
it
other.
camp.
Yeah.
Forever and always, our friend Johnny and I were talking about this yesterday, right after the showcase. We were like, we love the original one, and then we just like don't know what happens after that. Twin Snakes for life. GameCube riding hard over here.
Right.
The Master Collection was the announcement that got me going. They haven't explicitly confirmed it for Xbox yet, but it is confirmed to be coming to other consoles, and it's 1, 2, and 3 being brought over, just being ported over like as is essentially.
It's the PS1 version of 1, right?
Yep. That was a bummer. That was a bummer to see.
Are these? Yeah, but I mean, I think you and I are in the minority where we think Twin Snakes is better, but like I think a lot of people prefer that first one. Like,
so funny enough, I've heard the opposite. I've heard a lot of people say like, no, Twin Snakes is the definitive version. Like that was, it beefed up just like I think when you're talking Resident Evil 1, you think of the GameCube version. Like, yes, it sold the most on PS1, but we think of like the best version to play, like up until like current consoles, obviously. It's that.
Right. Yeah, I wonder. I mean, are these going to be like? Do you think it's the VR missions version, or do you think it's just like the base version, or like subsistence, or?
I think it's the base ones. It's got to be the base ones. I can't imagine them actually. I cannot imagine Konami doing something like good for consumers. So, but they called this Volume 1 on top of that. Like my first immediate reaction was, where the fuck is Metal Gear Solid 4? Like,
yeah, I was gonna say no 4.
4 is still locked to. It's still doing time on the PS3. So
that blows my mind. That absolutely just blows my mind.
Our friend Grayson Morales was tweeting about it. He was like, I really wish this was part of this collection so that people had to sit through the batshit insane ending and 2 hours of cutscenes at the end.
Maybe that's Volume 2. The Volume 2 is just 4 and like extended cutscenes.
Man, God, don't give him any ideas. Towers of Agashaba. This Breath of the Wild ripoff?
Sure.
The guy has a paraglider and dive bombs onto the back of dragons. Yeah, I did that in the Superior Tears of the Kingdom last night. It was fucking great. Final Fantasy 16. Did you need to see anything more from Final Fantasy?
No. I already think it looks good. I stopped watching stuff like a long time ago on that game.
I saw the first footage of it from like the September 2020 showcase, and I was like, yep, I don't need to say anything else. I'm in. I'm totally in. And I don't like Final Fantasy games that much, but I'll play this.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks cool. Plus it's more action-y, so I'm like, more into it, I think.
Well, if the general internet had this reaction to Metal Gear Solid Delta, I had the same reaction, but for Alan Wake 2. This looked awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for Alan Wake fans. I didn't really like the first one.
This looks great. And then immediately after the showcase, Jeff Keighley is like, oh, by the way, we're having actual gameplay of this game at Summer Game Fest on the 8th.
Yeah. No physical edition, though.
Yeah.
Digital only.
Man. Do we want to touch on that real quick?
I mean, we might as well.
That's proving to be pretty controversial. I didn't expect for it to be, and it's funny, I've shifted to buying mostly digital, and I found myself even a little conflicted over this. Like, I think for game preservation, it's really bad, but I understand, because I live in constant fear of stuff getting delisted. I've seen so many games get delisted. I've had stuff from iTunes delisted, and it's been really annoying. But since I bought it, I can still access it for now, I guess. But like when I see things that are happening, like with HBO Max, where they delisted shows that HBO themselves had made and sold them off to other streamers, I'm like, Disney just did this too. Like Willow came out last November and it's already off the streaming service. It's already off Disney.
Yeah.
Like I am a little afraid because, and I mean, like Epic is technically will own the game, so I'm like, I guess I shouldn't be as concerned. But it's like, man, really? I get the philosophy of it'll reduce the cost of the game for consumers.
Well, they said that. They said this kept it from being $70 on console.
I still think you're going to end up seeing a physical edition of this. THQ Nordic was offering last night to manufacture the physical copies of this game.
Yeah, I think you're going to see some sort of special, like limited.
You're going to tell me that Epic couldn't increase their budget just a little bit to make a physical copy? Like,
right, just put an Alan Wake skin in Fortnite, and that'll pay for your physical copies.
I mean, not even that. Like, make it like an Epic Store exclusive or something. I don't know. Like, so that collectors can get it if they want it. But Do it through limited run, even like be like, hey, we're
Yeah.
gonna do a really limited copy. That to me, this screams that Alan Wake Remastered did not sell well physically, and that most of the sales came digitally, which I already suspected anyways.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I think Control saw a lot of success digitally too.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really buy physical games
Mhm.
anymore, except for like specific Switch
They
ones,
got
just
to be on
because
sale or on the Switch for me.
yeah, it's just I'm so scared that Nintendo's going to pull
Yep.
a Wii U and 3DS
Yep.
situation for their next console that like, I can't.
Well, I mean, me and my girlfriend both play on our Switches, so we try to buy one copy of the game and just share it. There are things like Zelda though where we have to buy 2 copies.
Yeah,
Assassin's Creed Mirage. Corey, you're excited about this one?
I am. So I know for some reason a lot of people like to hate on Assassin's Creed, which it's fair in some situations, but like I'm excited for this. It looks like a good mix between like the first kind of few games that came out
Yeah.
with the quality of life stuff from the new ones and a smaller, more well, theoretically a smaller narrative driven experience, like where you're assassinating people and sneaking around. And I saw the quick bench sitting to blend in. I saw that. That was hilarious to see after 15 years. But yeah, I think Mirage looks cool going back to the Middle East, and Basim looks like a cool character. Seems like the story is going to be cool. So
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
this is
excited.
taking place after the events of Valhalla. Giving Basim's backstory. I'm interested to see how this is. This is Baghdad. It's taking place before
Mm-hmm.
the events of Assassin's Creed 1. So
Mm-hmm.
very interested to see how this goes.
Yeah.
I like the return to the stealth routes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Ubisoft confirmed the other day that it's going to be a 15-hour single player story. Is how long they project
Great.
for you to take. I'm like, great, fantastic. I can bang
That's
this
what I
out. I
want.
can bang this out in a week. Fantastic. I don't have
Look, I
to.
love Assassin's.
Yeah, I don't have to sit here and do 60 hours in fucking Scotland.
Yeah, look, I love Assassin's Creed Odyssey specifically,
Yeah,
but man, I put like 110 hours into that game, and I still never finished like probably like 75% of the stuff because it just
I put 65
it's just
hours
so
into
big.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla and was locked out of getting the ending because my save was corrupted. They still have
Yeah,
not
I
fixed
remember
it.
talking about
That
that.
still has not been
Yeah,
fixed. You can go back to listen to old
yeah.
episodes of Arsenal X for me to yell about that. Moving on. A couple smaller games. Revenant Hill, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, Street Fighter 6.
Mm.
Okay,
I think it looks cool. I'm not a Street Fighter person, but
I'm
I
not
think it
either.
looks cool. Like, I mean,
It's a fighting
seen
game.
enough of it
Skip.
already.
It's a fighting game that's
Yeah.
not Injustice or Marvel versus Capcom. So skip.
Yeah.
Also, we've seen it at like 15 different events now. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon's Dogma 2 looks fucking rad though.
Yeah, a lot of people are excited for
I'm
that too.
excited. I never played the first one, but John and I were messaging each other. We were like, "Yep," we're like, "This is a game for us. This is fantastic."
Mm-hmm.
I gotta ask you,
Apparently, it's a direct sequel.
how do you feel about PSVR, Corey? Did this lineup of games do anything to inspire hope for you?
No, not one bit.
So, Five Nights at
I
Freddy's Help Wanted 2 did not inspire confidence in you.
I mean, look, as much as I like creepy Chuck E. Cheese, I'm gonna have to say pass.
Microsoft famously had the deal for Crossfire, and they delisted Crossfire X a year in because it was so bad. Crossfire has now come to PSVR too.
Yeah, that's the place that's gonna succeed,
Yeah.
Josh. You didn't know that?
Arizona Sunshine 2 genuinely looked like one of the worst games I've ever seen in my life.
That's like the biggest VR title right now,
Is
though.
it really?
Yeah.
This looked
According to like 10 podcasts who
that's
talked about
insane.
this
That's
today, like
absolutely insane.
it's
This
one.
looks fucking
Yeah,
awful. This
yeah.
is
I mean, I didn't say it looked good. I'm
this
just
is
saying
like
that's
the
what
worst.
people
This
are
is like
saying.
the worst like edgelord shit I've ever seen. You could have told me that this came from the Rick and Morty writers, and I probably would have believed you. I'd believe you even more if you told me that that the Family Guy team wrote this. It was bad. It was cringeworthy. I will say I think Synapse looked cool. That was the one where you're like inside the dude's mind and you're like using powers to like manipulate the geometry and like shoot your gun and stuff. I thought that looked kind of cool. Um,
Yeah.
Beat Saber. I thought Beat Saber was on PSVR 2 already. I'll be completely honest.
Yeah, it's a free upgrade though, which is
And then
nice.
Resident Evil
You only
4
get to pay
remake.
for.
This is the most I can't believe this wasn't at launch thing ever.
Yeah, yeah.
And all they said was in development. So probably like next year.
Eight, eight's not in VR, is
Yes,
it?
it is.
Eight
Yes.
is Resident Evil
Yes.
8. Okay,
Yeah, that
maybe
was that was
maybe that's
promoted
why it wasn't there.
pretty heavily. Yeah.
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 Okay.
But then we get to the stretch that I think it's the best stretch. It's the best 4 game stretch, and one of them is just a CGI hamburger. Uh Marathon, man. I started seeing that trailer and I was like, man, I'm digging this. The music and like the visuals, and
Hmm.
then the Bungie logo came up, and I was like,
Oh yeah,
oh my
I
god,
knew
it's
exactly what it
fucking
was.
happening. I was screaming. I was like,
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I was like, dude. As soon as the Bungie logo showed up, I'm like, this is Marathon. This looks rad.
This looks really cool. I mean, it's high concept. And
Hmm.
I heard a lot of complaints about like I can't believe there was no gameplay shown, and I'm shocked that this is multi-platform. I thought when they said they were still going to keep making games for other platforms, they were only talking about Destiny, and it's like, no, for PlayStation podcasts, y'all really didn't read into that acquisition too much. They were very clear. We told them
Yeah.
we are staying multi-plat. There's a reason why they are not under, like we said earlier, they're not under SIE. Um,
Hmm.
so this is huge. This is they didn't explicitly confirm it anywhere, but Tom Henderson's reporting last year for Inside Gaming said that this is going to launch as a free to play title with season passes. Um, I'll say I think the teaser was really cool, but this is one of those games that like if Sony was so intent on this being in the showcase, I really think they should have put the Vidoc in here also.
Hmm.
And I understand like we've already done the first ARG to get the first Vidoc. It was really cool participating in that yesterday. Um, but I think that did so much more to make me excited for this, and like them explicitly confirming some of the goals for the game and this and that. Like there's been some great blog posts over on bungie.net already. I am not into extraction shooters. I think the only one
Hmm.
that's done it right is Escape from Tarkov, and maybe the Division Two's Dark Zone did, and that's
Hmm.
it. I don't think anybody else has
Hmm.
done this even remotely good. Um,
Hmm.
so this seems to be the one that everyone's chasing, and like Andy Cortez and Mike were saying over there on kind of funny. If anybody can make a competitor in this arena, it's Bungie.
Hmm.
They're going to put their own twist on it. It's going to have the Bungie. It's going to have the Bungie swagger. I look forward to this. I am bummed that there's no single player campaign. The Marathon is just some nutty lore, and I would really love for
Yeah.
there to be a campaign. There is still going to be storytelling through this. Game
Hmm.
director Chris Barrett confirmed that, and that should give
Hmm.
for those who don't know who Chris Barrett and Scott Taylor are. Scott Taylor is going to be the producer. Chris Barrett's going to be the director. Their roles were actually flipped back in the day on Forsaken, which is the last Destiny expansion they worked on, arguably the best expansion. Chris was the producer and Scott Taylor was the director. Um, and they were also two of the guys that were behind like Rise of Iron and The Taken King alongside Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy. Like they were kind of like the four who were in charge of everything.
Hmm.
Great decision for them to be leading this. Kevin Yanes, who was a big part of Destiny's combat and sandbox team, is working on this as well. Should give everybody like a lot of reassurance there. This game is going to look and feel like a Bungie game, if nothing else.
I mean that the running animation of the character at the beginning looks like a Halo / Destiny run animation,
This is
right?
yeah,
It's
this is
just
like if you combined that run animation with like Cyberpunk.
mhm.
This is a very
Yeah,
me game in terms of the aesthetic. I love like
yeah.
futuristic, like cyberpunk Blade Runner aesthetics. I love that. I absolutely love it. I love that they're calling you you're a runner. I think that's awesome. It's giving me very cyberpunk Edge Runners vibes from the anime, like in
Hmm.
terms of the style, the colors. So yeah, do not expect to see this before late 2024, maybe probably spring 25. Honestly. They
Hmm.
confirmed in Vidoc last night that they're going to go to ground after this. They're going to go completely quiet, and the next time you hear from them, the game's going to be close to launch. Like the
Right.
game is not even in alpha yet; it's in pre-alpha. It was in pre-alpha last year when we got the report. It's still in pre-alpha.
Yeah. Well, that's something Bungie's always been good at, right? Is like keeping
Incubation.
things kind of Yeah.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's the correct
this
word.
this went into incubation as best as we can tell, probably sometime in like late 2019 is when the idea for coming back to Marathon probably came up. And I think we had the explosion of popularity with Tarkov in 2020, at the beginning of
Hmm.
COVID-19. I think that
Yeah.
that is probably what made them pivot and decide on a true direction for the game. And they've been
Hmm.
quietly hiring and recruiting. A lot of the people that talked in the Vidoc have been working on this since its inception. Like
Hmm.
they were taken directly off of stuff at Bungie. A lot of the PvP team from Destiny was recruited for this. So that gives me a
Hmm.
lot of hope. Them talking about dedicated servers were the two magical words I needed to hear.
Yeah.
So very excited about that. Gives me a lot of hope for the future of like the Destiny franchise to like post final shape, which coincidentally did not. This was the biggest shock of the whole day for me.
Dude, I was I was
I
watching this
cried.
at work,
I cried.
and I was like, I like audibly, I was like, I audibly was like, oh my god, and like somebody, somebody in the main room was like, you all right in there? I'm like, yeah. It
So
was so,
my stream cut out right as the marathon trailer ended. To the point where
oh really?
to the point where I thought that was it. I thought that was the last thing. I thought we legitimately got to the end with no Spider-Man, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And then all of a sudden, my phone starts blowing up. I was already a little behind. My phone starts blowing up from Ray and from a few of my other friends, going, "Oh my god, Destiny's here! I can't believe Josh. How are you not reacting to this? Destiny's here!" I'm like, "Wait, what?" So I got the stream buffered back up, and I'm watching it, and it skipped the Ikora stuff at the beginning straight to the hunter diving at Savathun. And I was like, oh my god, no, this isn't Final Shape. Oh my god, it's the arena shooter. This is matter. We're seeing it. And then it dawns on me, oh wait. Because I thought at first like she was talking to her guardian or something like that. And then you see the ace of
Yeah.
spades, and I shrieked. I shrieked
Hmm.
so loud, I woke my girlfriend up
It's
45 minutes early for work because I shrieked.
yeah, it's glowing too. It's like broken with all this blue glowing like
That
mist coming out of
so
it.
that's for those who don't play Destiny. That's actually a sign that the perk is activated. That's the Memento Mori perk. It actually does that in
Yeah.
game when you have the perk triggered, ready to go. So nothing insidious to see here, um, but also it's Nathan Fillion back. There's
Right.
none of this none of this you know nonsense of oh my god, who fucking Nathan Drake. I forget his name.
Nolan
Nolan
North.
North. There's no Nolan North here to be found. This is pure unadulterated Nathan Fillion, which had to be confirmed in a blog post and by Nathan himself on Instagram. Uh,
That Instagram post was cool.
that's
It was funny.
hilarious. But yeah, raises a lot more questions than answers. This and the marathon trailer though really reeks of we have nothing to show. Bungie, please, you have to show stuff. You have to show something here because I think if it was up to Bungie, they wouldn't have shown us this early.
Right.
But
Right.
it was an announcement for the showcase in 3 months.
Hmm.
Like we just had a season start on Tuesday, and then you're showing this to us the next day. Like this is almost as egregious as the Witch Queen reveal, which led us wondering how the hell does Savathun get a ghost? Like 8 months out.
Right.
And mind you, we're seeing this 9 months before before the expansion is expected to ship. When I'm not entirely convinced it's going to meet that February 2024 release date right now, given the Lightfall issues. So you're like, what
Hmm.
the hell? And then let's keep it going with another CG teaser, and it's a nothing burger, literally.
Hmm.
Um, cool. I guess I'd be really upset if I
Sure.
was Firewalk being sandwiched between Bungie and Insomniac.
Right.
Like, because nobody is going to talk about your announcement. You showed nothing. Like, we didn't get a hint to what it's going to be about. It's just it's sci-fi and it's PvP. The end.
Yeah.
Uh, we got a Gran Turismo movie trailer.
Great.
Great. Still super don't care. And then, like we said, we've been making fun of the gamepad and the earbuds. And then they do 10 minutes of Spider-Man 2, which,
Can we talk about the BS of this gamepad first though? Like,
again, yes,
uh, yeah. I mean, like, come on. Like, this is ridiculous. This is so
this
stupid.
is bad.
This is the dumbest thing. Why even bother? Seriously, why even bother?
This is genuinely bad.
You already made a deal with Backbone to make a PlayStation themed controller for phones. Why even bother? Why even bother? This is ridiculous. This is so stupid. Sorry, I had to get that out.
Yeah, I'm not jazzed about this. I think this is rough. This is rough.
It's so big and cumbersome. Like,
Yeah, this does not look
man,
comfortable to hold. I don't know who this is.
who designs this hardware?
Who is this?
Who designs this
Who
stuff?
is this for? Who is this for? I'm still so upset. Like I just ugh.
Is it the 7-year-old who grew up playing the Wii U and just like really misses that gamepad feeling? Like, God, get out of here. Okay, I'm done.
It's bad. It's really bad. I'm not happy about this. I'm not thrilled.
Yeah.
Man.
Let's we should probably talk about Spider-Man though, because I know a lot of people are excited for Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2 looks genuinely amazing. Starting off with that cinematic though, I was gonna scream if they just ended with that cinematic. If all we saw was
the one with Kraven,
if it was just the Kraven cinematic with no gameplay, this would have been even worse. Like this, genuinely, we'd be talking about: is this the worst show Sony has ever done? And I think the runaway answer is yes. If they show no gameplay from Spider-Man 2. Instead, we got a 10-minute sequence, and honestly, at a certain point, I kind of tuned out because I was like, "Damn, can this just be over already?" You didn't have to show me the whole mission. We get it. It's more Spider-Man. You've shown us some of the cool new shit already. You see Peter Parker in the black symbiote suit using Venom powers, and Miles has both his Spider-Man powers and his electrical powers this time around. It was cool that the action was swapping back and forth between the two during the mission. Genki is back. Really excited about that. Some of the characters you could see pulling up on the dossiers that Kraven is looking at hint kind of at the scope of this game, and it seems like Queens and Brooklyn are fully explorable this time too.
Yeah, I think the Burrow stuff is cool. I think that's
excited.
That's going to make it more interesting.
Very excited. Let me go to New Jersey and see Tony Soprano. I thought this was very, very well done though. I mean, it's more Spider-Man. Like cool. It's going to be a Game of the Year contender again. I thought Miles Morales was an improvement over Spider-Man. Hope there's no Mary Jane missions this time. Those were awful. But yeah, this was really, really well done. I just 10 minutes tacked on to the end did not that it didn't inspire confidence in this game, but it's like, damn, if this had come at the beginning of the show, I think I actually would have been madder, because it would have been like, wow, if you let off with this, I would have expected the whole showcase to be a banger. Like, I'm almost surprised that they didn't lead off with the Bungie stuff now, looking back on it.
Yeah, they probably should have. I wonder if Sony is surprised that people are upset about this thing.
I think Jim Ryan has no idea why people are upset right now. He sees it as, man, we had all these high quality games. And to be fair, all the partnerships you had for third party games, Street Fighter, Final Fantasy, Alan Wake, Dragon's Dogma, Snake Eater, the Legacy Collection, those are great. That is phenomenal. We're not talking about the games here. Strictly in terms of Sony showing up to this, it felt like a Microsoft show. It felt like Microsoft circa 2020, that the first Series X event that we got that summer, when it was all just CG trailers. We got like no gameplay outside of the Halo gameplay. That's exactly what this feels like to me. A whole bunch of nothing burgers. Like, it is Firewalk's game the next Everwild? Like, that's my question right now.
Yeah.
And I say that as somebody who's going to play Firewalk's game because I really like shooters. Like, Helldivers did nothing for me. I don't know. There's too many comparisons with that show here for my comfort, and it really bothers me. Like, you also made a huge deal about how you're investing in PC in that investor call, and then there was like, I mean, Fair Games and Helldivers are going to come to PC day one. I'm pretty sure Firewalk's game will, but it's like, you couldn't have slipped like a Ghost of Tsushima for a PC announcement in here, because almost certainly one of your other live service games is going to be a standalone Ghost of Tsushima Legends game. Legends went over so well in the first game, I'd be shocked if it wasn't a standalone.
Right.
I don't know. Corey, what would you score this on a scale of, like, I don't know, 1 to 5? What would you even give this?
Oh God. I mean, so here's the thing. I'm taking into consideration, like, the third party stuff looked good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it gets a little bump because like Destiny and Marathon were there and they both look great. I know Spider-Man showed great. Like,
Yep.
but like Sony, the biggest complaint for Xbox right now, right, is like they don't really have a roadmap, right? We have
Yep.
Starfield and Forza coming with ambiguous fall dates, Hellblade after that, and that's kind of it, right? They
Yeah.
have they have a ton of projects announced, but no roadmap. And Sony didn't have anything announced and no roadmap. Well, the showcase was the one that everybody was pointing to, and I guess like expectations play a role in this score too. But like, I would give it I would honestly give it like at the highest a 3
Yeah.
because of our joint love for Bungie and Spider-Man showed well and some of the third party stuff. But like, I'm not interested in any of their game as a service. I don't go to PlayStation for game as a service. This was just
This was like kind of
yikes.
for me. This was like the antithesis of what we come to expect from a Sony showcase.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, this reminds me of this reminds me of the Xbox showcases for so
yeah,
long. That like I'm just like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that this is what happened.
when I think of
You
when I
know?
hear the words PlayStation showcase, there is an expectation that I have now because I look at the last three
Hmm.
that they did, and you look back at those from the announcement of PS5 onward. They did three of them. They did three in a 12-month span, or in a 15-month span,
Yeah.
excuse me. In those, you got Horizon Forbidden West, Sackboy's Big Adventure, Astro's Playroom,
Hmm.
Ghostwire Tokyo, Deathloop, Final Fantasy 16, uh, the Knights of the
All
Republic remake
bangers.
that may not be happening. You got God of War Ragnarok, you got Gran Turismo 7, you got Demon Souls. You got all of those games, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. You got Ghost of Tsushima expansion. You got all sorts of things announced,
Hmm.
and then for us to, so I think that Spider-Man 2 was announced, Miles Morales was announced, like it keeps going. Wolverine was announced at the last one, like it keeps going. You have this expectation. Then there is an expectation.
Hmm.
You have done this to yourself. For you to come out and then do
Hmm.
this, I do think the fans are right to be disappointed. I think the fans are absolutely right to be
Yeah.
disappointed. I think the ones running around saying like, "Oh my god, it's the worst thing I've ever seen." I wouldn't agree with that, but it's definitely the worst thing we've seen from
No.
Sony in like 5-6 years at least.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, I'm not the biggest PlayStation fan, but like even I was disappointed. I'm like, man, I was looking forward to like maybe a tease for Ghost of Tsushima 2, maybe a little tease of Wolverine, maybe what's that Uncharted game is the one thing that I'm like really excited for that's not even announced yet. Like, but like, man, I was like, man, this is
Yeah,
really tough. Even like, I mean, even like an exclusive on that Metal Gear would have been something for Sony, right? But it's not even that
but
either.
that even that didn't have gameplay. It didn't even have a fucking studio attached to it. Like that's how bad this is. And I think that a lot of us are left wondering, the games, who was it? Tom Henderson tweeted this out today. He's pretty reliable scooper from around the net these days. And he goes, I don't know where a lot of the games that I thought were going to be there were there, or why they weren't there. Not that he was explicitly saying certain games would be there, but he goes, the games that y'all are all wondering about are ready to be shown. They're ready to be shown. I have no
Yeah.
idea why they weren't here. So there's been a lot of speculation, like, oh, there might be another showcase in like September or October. Like they just want to get Spider-Man out the door, or like figure out if
Mhm.
they're going to be able to release or not. Because there was no release date attached to the Spider-Man footage. Just
Right.
PlayStation blog says we're working hard to get this out fall 2023. It would not shock me if this
Right.
slipped to Q1 2024. Um,
Right.
but if it does, then you're like, okay, well, they're the market leader. They're by a pretty comfortable margin. They can kind of coast this year. The question becomes, does Xbox capitalize on that? Because they're going to be the only one really with major games this fall, if that's the case, major
Hmm.
exclusives.
Yeah.
But also, I think it raises more questions about that roadmap. I thought, maybe we would see a little bit of Wolverine, at least a new trailer for it. That's being targeted for
Hmm.
2024, supposedly. Like, there's all these things they're supposedly targeting for next year, or that just don't have dates attached to them. And I don't know right now. Like, we've seen several, like, this is a lot of the projects that they're working on. Let's be honest, we're still missing. We know Naughty Dog is doing Factions and something else. Santa Monica's working on a
Yeah.
new IP, which is probably still a couple years away. Sucker
Right.
Punch is working on probably, presumably, Tsushima 2. And Bend is
Hmm.
working on a new IP. Like, outside of that, what? And
Yeah.
London Studio is working on their game. Gorilla's working on a Horizon Online game. Like,
Well, I mean, Gorilla isn't. That's NetEase. NetEase is
Oh,
working on
okay.
that.
Well, Gorilla's at least overseeing it, but they just finished
Yeah,
doing
but
Burning Shores.
right. So I mean, them not being there, okay, I
Yeah,
get it, right? Or Santa Monica, I get it.
yeah.
Okay, God of War just released.
That
Like
them and Paul,
those are
them and
okay.
Paul
Yeah,
Fani, those three are understandable. Where is
yeah.
everybody else? Where's Asobi? Where's Team Asobi at?
Right.
They put out
Where's
Astro's
that Astrobot
Playroom.
game?
Like, I
Right.
don't understand this. There were so many baffling choices here that it really did feel like I don't want to kick them when they're down, but it felt like Aaron Greenberg put this show together and not, the head of PlayStation Studios, Herman Hulst.
Yeah.
It really felt like this was an Xbox show and not them, which is kind of wild. And I mean, like I were saying that Xbox coming off two pretty good E3 showings, I would say, or summer showings
Yeah.
now, not E3. But yeah, I'd probably I'd go 3 out of 5 here, and it's a very tentative 3 out of 5 purely because I think that the third party games they showed were so strong, but I have to weigh those a lot less than I do first parties. And in terms of first party, it's like, yeah, I can be hyped about the Bungie stuff all day long, and like, okay, yeah, they're not going to show they're not going to show gameplay footage of a Destiny game. Like, just get that expectation out of the way right now.
Mhm.
They almost never do that until we're close to the launch.
Right.
But Marathon should not have been unveiled here. I'm going to be totally honest. I thought we would see it this year, but I thought it would be like
Mhm.
Game Awards.
Yeah, I thought.
I
Yeah,
thought it would be like Christmas because there's no way this is out before like Thanksgiving next year.
yeah. I still think this game's like a year and a half
Oh,
away.
easily. Like, but Pete Parsons said
Yeah.
in 2019 they were aiming to release a new IP by 2025, and then you had
Yeah.
COVID.
And that's when we saw that Matter
Yeah,
leak,
that's
right?
when
Like
the
that was
Matter
the
trademark was registered, and we have no idea if this is Matter or not.
yeah.
That's just a whole nother thing we'll talk about on Tower Casuals. But yeah, I would say
Mhm.
that you know, just kind of wrapping up, like what a huge disappointment. What
Yeah.
an absolutely
It
huge
was it was
disappointment.
pretty it was pretty disappointing. Like I was pretty disappointed for people, especially people who are like huge PlayStation fans and looking forward
Yeah,
to what's next. It's like,
they went 2 years
man,
without a
I'm sorry, guys.
showcase.
Yeah. So, uh, any final thoughts, Josh, or should we get out of here?
We should get out of here.
I think we kind
This
of
was
covered
bad.
most of it.
This was bad. We should get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, Josh and I will probably come back here and talk about the Xbox showcase when that happens. We're gonna do a predictions episode, I think, for Boss Rush Plus. Uh, kind of what we want to see and hope it's not as bad as this showcase. To be honest, dude, the Xbox team has to be like chomping at the bit to get this
They
showcase underway now. Right? Like,
they
they
have a
gotta.
very limited opening. Like, I would say if you have a partnership that maybe you don't have a trailer for,
Mhm.
still let that maybe Phil talks to them and is like, "Hey, I'd like to walk out on stage and
Yeah,
announce our partnership like
send it,
Kojima style."
or even send a team out there to do like a doc, like a Vidoc or something, or you know what I mean, like just something
Yeah, I mean,
small.
we're
You
too
know,
late for CG trailers to be made at this point.
right?
But you could
Hmm.
do a quick little like reveal, or like if it's a noted creative, like again, like they did with Kojima last year. You could
Hmm.
shoehorn something like that in, or like, hey, maybe there's like a big Game Pass deal that you wanna highlight that's coming up. You talk to the studio, be like, hey, we're gonna back up some more money. Can we do it? I'd be calling like any Japanese team and be like, yo, do you want a 30-second slot in the Xbox show? We can cram you in there now. We can cram
Right,
you in.
right.
Yeah. No, I just they took the foot off the neck, and
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna drastically impact market share. Like, the people who watch these are such a small
Mhm.
minority of who's actually gonna play these
Right.
games, but I can't imagine anyone who has been buying a PlayStation 5 for the games is going to look at these live service games and be like, yeah, that's going to hold my attention for more than a week or two before I go back to Fortnite.
I the yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And they led with Jade Raymond's game and it looks horrible. Okay, we're getting out of here.
Literally
I'm
my first
getting
thought seeing that was, well, Xbox fans have nothing to be disappointed about now.
oh my
And to be
gosh.
clear,
All right.
that could still
Well,
be good. That could still be good, but Ooh, I'm getting Redfall flashbacks. I have the exact same feelings I did about Redfall when it was revealed. That was Microsoft's one more thing in 2021 was a 6-minute CGI trailer for Redfall that ended up being better than the game. So, yeah. Corey, get me out of here. I'm upset. Get me out of here.
Get out of here. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. You can find Boss Rush Plus on our YouTube channel and on Patreon a week or so early. Josh, thank you for your time tonight. I always appreciate your insight and your love for this stuff. And, you know, I missed doing this. So thanks for coming on.
Of course.
This was great. Listen to the Boss Rush podcast. You can find it on podcast services every Monday. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. Until next time, we love you. Goodbye. The Boss Rush podcast is a product of Boss Rush Media, LLC, and is recorded from our headquarters in Akron, Ohio. This show is produced, written, and directed by me, Corey Deary. My co-hosts are Stephanie Klimov, LaRon Dawkins, and Edward Barnell. You can find Stephanie at Klimov_author on Twitter and Instagram, as well as on the EXPcast. You can find LaRon at Exodus803 on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube, and also on Crossroads, the video game podcast. You can find Edward at ThatRetroCode on Twitter and Instagram, as well as hosting Nintendo Power Block. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at IamCoreyInHD, and find me hosting Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast, and co-hosting Nintendo Power Block. Find the Boss Rush Podcast on all social media platforms at Boss Rush Podcast. You can also follow Boss Rush Media and the Boss Rush Network on all major social media platforms. Join the Boss Rush Network Discord and Facebook groups to interact with other friends and fans. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.